Hey guys, this is JonTaun from Total Brohammer, and as you can see today I'll be bringing you a Dwarf replay. So I rarely play the Dwarves and I don't really know how to play them, and honestly they're one of my least favorite factions in the game, but you know what, let's get a little variety in here and see if I can have some fun against the Greenskins. So we have the old grudge match here, Greenskins versus Dwarves. Let's see how I can do. Alright, so let's go over army compositions. My army is going to consist of a front line of some Longbeards and 2 Longbeards with great weapons. Make that, 3 of them, including the Grumbling Guard, and also Norgling's Ironbreakers. Behind that, I have some Miners with blasting charges on each side. I've got 2 Bugman's Rangers, and the reason I got these guys are not only because they regenerate, but because they have charge defense against large foes. So if you get these guys to face an enemy cav charge, then they'll take very little damage. I also got Othel's Raiders in case he decides to bring any large things like a spider, and I decided to go with no artillery just because of how small the map is. I don't want to be... It's not going to give me a lot of room to get a lot of shots off. In the back for my anti-large, I have the Dragonback Slayers. Alright, so my opponent has gone with a pretty heavy skirmish component here. He's got 2 Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, as well as the Morgrub's Mange Marauders. He's got a Orc-Boar Chariot in the woods over here. And for his front line, he's decided to go with Savage Orcs and Squig Hoppers. So something that you used to see a lot more in Game 1, it doesn't seem to work out quite as well now. Besides that, he's also got Grimgor Ironhide for his lord. So, Grimgor Ironhide is an interesting lord. I wouldn't say he's one of the better. He's probably one of the worst lords for the Greenskins, just because he's good in melee. I mean, look at the stats. His melee defense is pretty low, and 500 weapon strength with how much armor piercing does he have? 350 armor piercing, but he's just so easy to avoid. Maybe less so for the dwarves, but you can still avoid him quite easily. You can still block him up quite easy, even though he is much harder to knock down since the latest patch. Besides that, he's also got an Orc Shaman, and it looks like he has Here We Go, Fist of Gork, and the Foot of Gork. Alright, but that is not all. Over here, he's got some Orc Bowboy Biggins, as well as some Forest Goblin Spider Riders. And in the back, he has 4 groups of Nasty Skulkers. So I really should expect this from the Greenskins when they're fighting the Dwarfs. But, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Alright, so let's click in the full gear here. As you can see, my Bugman's Rangers are just skirmishing with these missile cav of the Greenskins and kind of pushing them off. So, seeing that he has a Savage Orc front line, these guys have 0 armor and are a perfect target for my Bugman's Rangers. So, I now see these Nasty Skulkers. I'm immediately going to pull these Longbeards and these... I figured the Dragonback Slayers will be pretty good at killing lightly armored infantry, but they take more damage than I thought they would. I'm also going to move a Thane back here to support. Oh, you know what? I did indeed, forgot to go over my lords here. I got 2 Thanes, and I've also got a Rune Lord. And look at this. Now we got some Blasting Charges going through the front line. Now, Blasting Charges are going to be amazing here. Blasting Charges are really good against units with low armor. As you can see, like I said, Savage Orcs have 0 armor, so that is really going to help. How much armor do the Squig Hoppers have? 50. They'll be less effective against them. Also because they're lower numbers, but yeah, doing a lot of damage to these Savage Orcs, a lot of early damage with my Bugman Ranger, and things are going pretty great over here. So, as I thought, the Dragonback Slayers are making pretty good work of these Nasty Skulkers, though they are taking more damage. I do turn around my Miners, knowing that the Nasty Skulkers are also very lightly armored, and just absolutely start destroying these Nasty Skulkers. I see his cavalry coming through the forest here, and his front line does indeed engage with mine. The Norgling's Ironbreakers are simply going to hold forever, and the Grumbling Guard is not going to be a slouch as far as holding either. This line is just meant to hold and deal some armor-piercing damage. So he's moving his Skirmish Cavalry around the side here to fire into the back of me, which is a great call. He's also got his Orc-Boar Chariots coming over here. Hopefully I'll be able to catch him with the Thane's Snare ability. And that Snare ability, the Tormentor Sword. So he's going to be running into the back of my Bugman's Rangers, but even though they weren't braced since they were from the rear, they barely took any damage because these guys have terrible melee stats. So I do use the Tormentor Sword just so I can get this Orc-Boar Chariot down, as well as these Goblin Wolf Riders, and let these guys reform over here and start shooting into them. And as you can see, this Orc Chariot is doing quite a good job against these miners with blasting charges. But I'm going to have the miners with blasting charges turn around and just start throwing into all these Goblin Wolf Riders, and they do not want to stay there long. As you can see, they're taking massive damage. And as far as the front line goes, it looks like I'm losing overall. The Gremlin Guard here are having to fight this Orc Shaman and Grimgor Ironhide, so they're not doing well, but we're winning over here where the Rune Lord is, and we're holding quite well over here. So we were able, for the most part, to defeat all these nasty Skulkers. I had the Slayers go after the Spider Riders and these Orc Boy Biggins, as well as the Miners. So I'm going to be pulling these Slayers back to hold off this side of the battlefield, and as you can see, he has his Orc Boy Chariots still running around here. And I'm going to try to get my Slayers after them, but these guys are going to be real wily. As you can see, my Longbeards are doing a great job at defeating the Savage Orcs. And the Norberlings Ironbreakers, of course, are just doing amazing. Look at that. Absolutely destroyed those Savage Orcs. And all these guys have charge defense against large. So if these squids come back and rampage, then they're just not going to do very well. So I don't have my Tormentor swords up, but I have all my ranged units going after these Orc Boy Chariots. Because as you know, the Chariots can do quite a lot of damage against dwarves. I have my Thane and the Longbeards over here just trying to hold off these nasty Skulkers, and they're doing a pretty good job at it. Now these Orc Boy Biggins are coming back, and I'm going to try to get these Miners to intercept them here, as well as be shooting them with my Buckman Rainer. As you can see, my Dragonbat Slayers have lost their attack orders on the Orc Boy Chariot, which is unfortunate. And he's going to come over here and just collapse on these Longbeards and just be able to destroy them all. I think I'd pop a Tormentor Sword here just to keep all these guys in place, because I don't want them going into my ranged units. Alright, so you can see a lot of his units are coming back, and I'm going to activate my Loon Lord and try to hold up some of these Orc Boy Chariots. He's probably just going to get knocked down. Looks like he's going to get a hit or two on him. And my ranged units are also doing quite a good job. Those Raiders are doing a ton of damage, and finally I'm going to get those Chariots off the field. But this Thane over here is in some big trouble. He's surrounded by like 4 groups of nasty Skulkers and Spider Riders, as well as some Orc Boy Biggins. So it's not going to be pretty for him. On my right flank, I just have my archers taking care of these Goblin Wolf Riders. They're not too much of a threat. These Savage Orcs over here are beating through these Longbeards eventually, but they're just holding forever, and that's what I love about Dwarven Infantry. Over here, I'm going to pop a Rune of Wrath and Ruin on the Squig Herd, and I'm going to get just have my infantry try to hold off Grimgor Ironhide. Norberlings Ironbreakers aren't going to break anytime soon, and now I'm going to have these Miners and Dragonback Slayers come in from behind and just kind of finish off my opponent. And we got an amazing Foot of Gork here. Oh man, oh man. My Norberlings Ironbreakers. So that was a great target, by the way, and now look at my Norgremlings. These guys would be so hard to destroy if he had not used that Foot of Gork. So that was a great call right there on a very high value unit. That unit's like, what, 1500? So yeah, great call. Now I have both my Thanes over here trying to fend off all these nasty Skulkers, and as you can see, they're doing a great job. These Bugman Rainers get charged by these Spider Riders, but they were braced, so they are doing much better against these Forest Goblin Spider Riders. And knowing that the Orc Shaman has low armor, I'm going to send my Dragonback Slayers after him. And now that my Ulthar's Raiders are out of ammo, I'm just going to send them after Grimgor. And Grimgor's going to be surrounded here. And not long for this world, methinks. So his Chariots are coming back, and he is still running around with all his Goblin Wolf Riders. I don't feel like Goblin Wolf Riders are a great choice against the Dwarves, since they don't have much AP. Let's go ahead and see exactly how much armor piercing they do have. So 1 armor piercing damage, I feel like these guys aren't worth it. The Mangy Marauders, on the other hand, are definitely worth it at 10 armor piercing AP. Armor piercing AP, that's redundant. Anyway, so I've defeated all these nasty Skulkers. I'm going to have these Rangers here just shoot at anybody who decides to come back once they become visible to me. And I have these other group of Rangers shooting at the Orc Boy Chariot, and it is going to rout off. So as you can see over here, these Longbeards have just been hit over and over and over again. They've been fighting Savage Orcs, they've been recharged by more groups of Mangy Marauders, they've been shot at, but they just will not break. They're going to be fighting to the last man, and they still have 25 models left, actually. So you gotta love those Longbeards with great weapons. And at this point, my opponent's army is going to rout from army losses. Alright, so let's look at the in-battle screen here. My Thanes did a great job at pinning down some high-value targets and stopping some backline harass. The Rune Lord put down some good buffs. My Miners with blasting charges, they didn't get a ton of kills. 63 and 36, it's pretty good. But they did massive HP damage to all his lightly armored targets. and pretty much all his army was lightly armored. My Longbeards with great weapons and the Gremlin Guard just did a phenomenal job at holding the front line. My Dragonbat Slayers did a great job at taking out those nasty Skulkers and Orc Boy Bigums, as well as Spider Riders. Norgling's Ironbreakers, they just don't die. Nothing else to say about that. And the Bugman's Rangers worked out really well in this match because of the lack of enemy armor. Holthard's Raiders did a pretty good job, and the Longbeards held forever too, even though they were fighting against nasty Skulkers. So Grimgor over here with 83 kills. Orc Shaman got 43 kills. Most of them are probably from that foot of Gort. And the nasty Skulkers didn't get much done, actually, and neither did the Savage Orcs. Just because the Savage Orcs are... nasty Skulkers have really low stats, and the Savage Orcs have really good melee attack, really bad melee defense, but they don't have the most armor piercing. For a non-armor piercing unit, they have a little bit more than others, I think. Kind of like Source Warriors. Not 100% sure about that. I'd have to look at the stats. But Force Goblin Spider Riders just meant to muck up the back line, but they didn't really do anything. Orc Boy by Biggins, I was able to get my Dragonbat Slayers on them, so they weren't able to do much. In these Orc Boar Chariot also didn't do too much. So yeah, as far as killing dwarves, his army just wasn't up to the task. He didn't have the right units. And I think Grimgor is really a liability, because he's very slow, he's very easy to pin down, and at the end of the day, he can't put out that much damage. But in any case, a very good game to actually average, and that's going to be all for this one, guys. This is JonTaun for Total Brohammer, signing out.